everybody that's listening, again, thanks so much. Please subscribe, like, and share on the podcasting. If you're on the radio, we appreciate you. Tell your families and friends, whatever radio station you're listening to, and that we're on. We're here, and we're ready to bring the information back to the people. We have a great interviewee today. It's Charles Chadwick Jr. It's www.chadwickexperiences.com. He's got his books, quite a few. He's got his podcast that he's been on. You can watch those and many other things on there. We got a lot to bring to the table. We're going to talk about what we're bringing to the table in just a second. Charles Chadwick Jr., thanks so much, man. Really looking forward to this.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I'm pumped up. I know it's been a while. You was in Florida and the hurricane, and it's funny we met in 2022, but yet we're doing the podcast in 2023. So I'm happy to be here. I'm a sports junkie as well.
Well, I'm happy you're on, and I thank you again for bearing with me. Unfortunately, we've had a string of events from 2021 on, but we won't get into that. The
Yeah.
audience, the audience does know some of my issues, so we'll move forward in that. We don't need to talk about that. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. I'm very excited to talk about trade school and other educational issues with you because as a person that believes in trade school personally, and as a person that thinks that college is not for everybody,
Exactly.
and not even just that, a lot of the stuff that's being taught in college doesn't really help you out in real life. So let's kick this off with this. First of all, tell the audience a little bit about your story before we dive deeper into these issues about college and trade schools.
Oh yeah. Well, originally I'm from North Carolina, a country guy, never grew up in the city. The interesting thing about me is that I have 2 degrees, but guess what? I have been more successful in the trade industry, and I learned the trade industry for free. My dad had a plumbing company. He made me work it when I was little. I hated it growing up, but it's the one thing that helped me pay off my student loans was working in the trade industry. And just to tell everybody my life story, before I went off to college, I asked my dad to co-sign the loan for me, and he refused. He said, "You should have already
Oh,
had credit established." He said, "I taught you plumbing, and you can go anywhere in the world. Anything else you want to do on your own, you pay for it." So I went into college knowing that I was 100% responsible, and that's what led me to cut my college costs by 40%. And the trade industry helped me pay my debt back. So that is my real true life story. 2 degrees, but guess what? I am sure that I'm more successful in the trade industry, which I learned for free.
as far as colleges go, it's not for everybody in general.
Exactly, exactly. And again, I don't know what your age is, but I'm 38, and in the era,
33.
okay, and I don't know if it's the same for you. Now I'm coming from North Carolina, the deep South, and the Bible Belt, but college was push. It was just push, push, push,
Yeah,
push, and they made it seem like college was the only option to anything you want to do to be
right.
successful. And I remember in school, even if there was a child that had a high IQ and they said, "I'm going to start a business, I don't need college," those teachers still tried to humble us down and say, "You still need college no matter what you do. If you want to
Yeah,
play basketball, you're going to need it to fall back on." And we know today that's not true because Silicon Valley is proving it every day. And I think somewhere in the public education system, the message has got lost. Success can be found many ways: trade industry, military, or neither, no college, owning a business, just coming
yeah.
up with an idea. Or in today's terms, somebody could be a TikTok star and get millions of followers and you can monetize that. So I think it's just within the educational system itself, success comes in north, south, east, west. There's no set formula, but we have been pushed that college is the key and the know-all and the holy grail of success, and it's not.
Charles, why do you feel like it is pushed? I don't believe it's just, North Carolina, the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
I think it's because I had that same issues too up in Rhode Island. I think it's that, it's a media societal thing that if you go to college, and I hear these statistics all the time, if you only have a high school, a graduate degree, and you
You get
have a
excellent.
college degree, you're going to make more money. If you have the master's degree, you're going to make more money than just the college degree and three or four times more than somebody from the high school. I think this is a media issue that they're in cahoots with big education, if we want to call it. I'm sure there's a better terminology than that to funnel more people into these universities, and then obviously it's driving up student debt. And then when you get out of college, you might get a good job, but you have student debt up the wazoo, and you're paying for rent, utilities, everything else, gas, excuse me, along with the debt. So,
Yeah.
do you agree with that though?
Mm, on two sides, I agree.
Okay,
Yes, it's wrong from the student side. But here in America, it's always been about business. And I used to hear people say college not a business, but I can honestly say, in my opinion,
it
it
is.
is because when you look at the football stadiums, the basketball, all
Right.
those alumni and those funds and all that, it's all about kickback. And if you follow the money, there it is. But college is a great experience. I've done it, but here's the facts. What I've researched, Rob, in year 2020, student loans was the number one asset of the US government at 44.8%. So as a nation, guess what our asset is here? Debt, but the student loan debt is a good proportion of it. So when we get into the student loan forgiveness, in my opinion, they're not going to forgive it because it's an
Right.
asset. If they forgive all those future wages, future taxation on students trying to pay it back, they would lose the investment of giving us the loans to invest in college. So it's always about, in my opinion, the kickback. And from a business model, I don't know if that was the intention, but honestly, the student loan thing, man, it's deep. Maybe it is the media thing, and maybe it was a good cause, but now we got to come back to life, back to reality, and people have to do what's best for them financially, not what's best futuristically, but do what's best for you and your family financially. If you don't have the money, then you might need to start working first, and then look towards to go to college. But yes, it is I would say it's a genuine. When you look at the money, that's
Yeah.
what's left after this college experience is the debt. Are we seeing more people working or, less people working in the fields that they even studying in, as you said?
Charles Chadwick here on Fire Breathing Rob. Again, chadwickexperiences.com. You know, Charles, my thing is let's go back to high school.
Yeah.
The in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, they used to have shop, they
Yeah.
used to have electrical, and all these other, trades in general where kids would learn these, great trades. So if they wanted to go into these fields instead of going to college, they kind of already had a head up.
Yeah.
Obviously, they would have to go into the apprenticeships and stuff like that and do all those, but they still had some sort of knowledge that, regardless if they went into these trades, they had some sort of knowledge that if you had a plumbing problem at home, you might know a little bit of how to do it, more so than somebody that never had this in school. That's gone. Most schools, that's gone 100%. Can you talk about that? Do you have any kind of knowledge of where we kind of went wrong as a society is taking these out of high schools where we have kids now in high schools, they don't know how to do anything anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if the to say we went wrong, but again, back to the business side, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist either, but could that been an agenda? Let's get rid of the trades and then like haul all these futuristic students to college, because I think given that trade back in that time frame where there was wood shop, where there was electrical, it gave people options. But when you take those options away, really the only option was to go to college. That's what you was told. But I think we're going to bring it back. So many congressmen, and I don't get in politics, but everybody knows that you have to bring it back the way we're going now. You have to bring and give those opportunities to everybody, because we know for a fact now college isn't for everybody. And in my opinion, the result would be look at the debt, and that's the statistic that should show that it's not for everybody. And had those kids who maybe couldn't afford it and couldn't have the money, if there was no loan given, they would have went into the trade industry, or they would have worked at a company, and by now, 10 years later, they would be in those upper management positions. So I think it might have been a well schemed plan, maybe to kind of force us to go into college. And everybody say budget cuts, budget cuts, budget cuts. But if you think about the student loans, we're financing loans still. So they can't give a loan to a high school if they want to keep the trades to keep it there.
A lot of people look down on these jobs
Yep.
as electrician, plumber, the list goes on and on. These people up north, I know for sure, these people are making big, big money,
Of
man.
course, New York,
Big,
yeah.
big, they're making way more money than a lot of people that did go to college. Why do you feel like these trades are looked down on by people? Because, depending on what part of the country you are, you could be making close to 100 grand, maybe even more, depending on, where you are in the country.
I guess I don't want to say it's looked down upon because my dad was a plumber, and I
Right.
think with those jobs, here's the fallacy of composition or the irony. People think you work hard in the trade industry, and I would say you used to, but with supply and demand, and with trade, it's not like to me college. With trade, the longer you stay in the trade, the quicker you gain the knowledge of how to fix a broken pipe, how to replace a receptacle, and you're making money quickly. So I would think, in my personal opinion, my dad was a plumber I worked with. I used to think that it was hard work. It was only hard because I didn't know what to do. But once I start hanging out with my dad, I fix a water leak, 20 minutes at somebody's house. I fix a water leak, $250 easily like that. So I think maybe that's what it is. People, we were always taught you don't work harder, work smarter. And that can be tied directly to me, the theme of college. But now, if I could just share something with you, supply and demand. We got so much supply of degrees, but they're not in demand. We have
Correct.
a higher demand for trades, but the supply of young workers is low. So if a young person could look at it as a business situation with supply and demand, if I go into trade, there's not a lot of young people. But if you go into college, it's thousands of people in that specific kind of sector. So I would say that's what I believe what happened. We were taught to work smarter, but not harder. But now you just have to just think about it from a business standpoint. And a lot of people think just if they got the degrees, hey, I'm gonna be sitting in an office and I'm never gonna have to roll my sleeves up again. And that's not the case.
So you talk about cutting 40% of your college expenses and being debt free. There's a lot of people that are hoodwinked, bamboozled, whatever you want to call it, into going into these college. And I talked about it earlier on the interview. They go to college, they get hooked into this class. Most of them are humanities. For the people that are listening, I'm sorry. This is what's true is true. It's the political science, it's the gender studies, it's acting, it's this and that. You come out of college, either you're going to go into teaching or you're not going to get a job pretty much. So, and then these people have debt up the kazoo, as we've talked about. So, give them some tips because, they're getting hoodwinked. And I almost got hoodwinked when I went in there because I said, listen, this guy's saying, oh, you get acting, you'll get a 4.0, you're very good. And they build it up, build it up,
Yeah.
build it up. And you think you're going to just coast through college and everybody's struggling and you're getting A's. And then you come out of school and you're screwed. So, what kind of advice would you give people listening that might be going into college, that might want to go back to college, so that they're making the correct decisions so that they don't go into debt? And also, when they come out of college, that they get some sort of job that is beneficial to their life. And, everything's extremely expensive right now. They need to do that.
Oh yeah. I would just say this. I'm a man that like to rhyme. The more you understand about finances, it'll equal the less classes you need to take. So if you understand, for example, a community college, that's my biggest tip ever. If you start at that community college, you're cutting out the meal plan, you're cutting out the room and board. And a lot of times, not all the time, but those credits will transfer to a university. Another tip I give out in my book, Rob, is this simple. A lot of summers, people go home and party. For the last 2 summers when I was at my university, I went back to my community college, took more electives, and transferred them back to the university, and I graduated a year earlier. So if you just look at tuition, room and board, or even the meal plan, I give an example. When you grocery shop in our everyday life, do you buy a year's worth of groceries all at once? No, you might buy a week's worth, a month's worth. So, like, even with the meal plan, at the end of the semester, the meals I didn't use, I couldn't get my money back. So, therefore, when you're checking out the meal plan, get the best meal plan. You're not going to eat 3 meals religiously 7 days a week unless you're an athlete. Athletes typically depend on that
Right.
cafeteria, but just learn how to cut costs. Also, understand taxes. I don't think a lot of people understand interest and taxes. While I was in college, I knew what my interest was going to start 6 months after I graduate. Therefore, I consolidated multiple loans I had because I got a lower interest rate. So that's what I would tell people. And one last thing is
Mhm.
you don't have to go to college right after high school. I took a year
Right.
off, and we see every day on the news an 80-year-old graduated with a bachelor's degree, and I'm pretty sure an 80-year-old has a hopefully a smarter mind in finances than a young 18-year-old. And here's one quick thing: college buys you time. A lot of people are hiding in college. They don't know what they want to do or what purpose they want. College buys you time, but don't take that loan out if you really don't know what you want to do. Enjoy that freedom if you want to take a break from school. You don't have to do it right at 18.
Charles, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on today. We still have a lot to bring to the table. This is not our only conversation, and I promise I won't make you wait another year to have you on again. We'll only be
Okay.
a week or two. But I do want you to tease for, and again, we hope people listening or viewing, come back again to listen to our conversation with Charles again, speaking about his books too. But before we end this conversation, can you tease the books and the podcast and the website and how people can find you? Everything in the
Oh
kitchen
yeah.
sink.
Yeah, they're gonna love find me at Facebook or Instagram at Reduce College Debt. And I believe we can reduce college debt by making we can reduce college debt by stop overlooking the trade industry because it is a skill set. And remember, skills pay the bills. And then my website's my last name, Chadwicks with a S, Chadwicks, and then experience with a S.com. You can check out all the podcasts, and you can also look at my TikTok character, the pastor of the student loan disaster. I have a Jerry Curl wig, buck teeth, and I'm preaching to people: quit going to college. It ain't the only knowledge. Get into a trade if you want to get paid.
Very, very good. And great advice for people listening. Hopefully, the younger people take this to heart. And even if you're not in the younger population,
Yeah.
just go out there, learn something new. You can make some good money. If you are looking to make money in an economy where everything is sky high, I think this is a good place to start. So these jobs are always open. They're always
Yep.
open. So
And
again,
and
go
don't
ahead.
be afraid. Join a trade.
Don't be afraid. Join a trade. Great advice. Charles Chadwick. Again, Chadwick's experiences.com. That's an S after Chadwick.
Yes, sir.
Experiences.com. Definitely check them out. And Charles, we're going to book the next visit after this ends. And I
Okay.
appreciate you coming on and look forward to our next conversation.
Appreciate it, Rob.